thank you to the Study Commission on the Use of Student Assessments in New Jersey for this testimony. I'm going to be philosophical at first, and I'll run through the more specifics later. Houston, we've had a problem here with the phrase used in 1970 by an astronaut aboard our Apollo 13 moon flight to his Texas base, reporting a major technical fault about the electrical system of a service module oxygen tank. The phrase, modified to Houston, we have a problem, was later used to tagline the 1995 Apollo 13. I modify it further today. Trenton, we have a problem. And add the subtitle, Truth, Lies, and O-Rings, the title of a book about this next space flight. 29 years ago today, January 28, 1986, the NASA Space Shuttle Orbiter, Challenger, broke apart 73 seconds into flight, leading to the deaths of all 7 crew members. One of those deaths was a master teacher, Krista McAuliffe, who spoke these unforgettable words, "I teach the future." The disintegration of Challenger began after an O-ring seal in its right solid rocket booster failed at liftoff. This disaster is often used as a case study in many discussions about safety and ethics. Via the findings of a 32-month commission, it was determined that NASA's organizational culture and decision-making processes were key contributing factors to the tragic accident. NASA managers knew the design contained a potentially catastrophic flaw in the O-rings, but failed to address it properly. They disregarded warnings from engineers and/or failed to surface it adequately to their superiors. And the O-rings, as well as many other critical components, had no test data to support any expectation of a successful launch in such conditions. Last, they did not design an escape system. These astronauts and this master teacher would die as a result. Hundreds more testifying after me in this and 2 other New Jersey hearings about PARCC assessments include those who have far more intimate detail than I, since they have daily and direct personal, professional, and experiential contact to report. Often meeting and speaking with them throughout New Jersey and participating on social meeting and at hearings like these, parents see their students inordinately stressed in preparation for excessive, questionable, and developmentally inappropriate, untested PARCC assessments and Common Core assignments. Parents whose parental rights and thorough, intelligent, in-depth research leading them to refuse these tests for their children are challenged by conflicting policies and disrespect. Experienced, mature master teachers who see their once proud and honorable profession diminished are often afraid to question or fully surface the flawed and potentially catastrophic design of PARCC tests and standards to their superiors. Superiors are similarly cowed, fearing retribution by their superintendents and state authorities. Boards of education are scrambling to take back control of local districts. Frustrated with the state's boards of education they are legally forced to join, but whom they believe do not represent them anymore. Like NASA, must we consider that they and our governor, Department of Education, and other stakeholders are involved in a questionable organizational culture and decision-making process? And if such is true and scientific, educational, and practical warnings disregarded, how long will decision-makers risk the educational lives of New Jersey students before this untested mission disintegrates with no escape system? Although initially philosophical, I based some of my opposition to Common Core standards and PARCC assessments as follows, and this I will run through. Nationalized educational standards and tests are not only unconstitutional, and I present you with a pocket constitution, they violate 3 federal laws, including the very establishment of the Department of Education. As a member of the press, I interviewed many when I covered the National Governor's Summit on Education and IBM at the IBM Training Facility in Palisades, New York, when an ancestor of Common Core and PARCC, known as School to Work to College and Career, was yet another failed educational system emanating from the Federal Department of Education. It would have trained versus educated students to meet demands of big business, supply human capital in a seamless cradle-to-grave system, and lead to a managed economy. A sincere concern is that the outcome of your final report, members of this commission, is predetermined. Governor Christie's executive order issued 2014 that established your commission followed on the heels of a Faustian bargain orchestrated by the governor, Senator Sweeney, and the leadership of the NJEA that have now altered their strategy that effectively silenced our voice. PARCC itself is a misnomer. The Partnership for Assessment of Readiness for College and Career, where are the jobs in New Jersey? Why saddle students with more student debt that chokes them well into their adult life? Can we ignore Bill Gates himself, Rush Limbaugh, and Steven Spielberg, who returned to college late in life and taught by those teaching his craft? They did not go to college. Only 10-member PARCC states in the District of Columbia remain out of the initial 26. We certainly can't call this nationalized compared to our 50 states. Why do we remain? Why consider such internationally benchmarked when we test all children in our very diverse nation as compared to Finland, a very homogeneous country, or China that only tests its elites and not those children in factories and fields? How can PARCC be meaningful to students when not intended for grade placement or graduation? And given in March and May, and tinkering with cut scores over the summer, has been rumored that results, perhaps favorable to whatever the powers that be determine necessary to promote an agenda, may even be delayed to January 2016. That's like going to a doctor, and I'm over?
Yeah, I see you're reading your statement. I see you have a whole other...
I will not read the rest.
You could just summarize.
I will.
I'm really reading, following along. You're doing it verbatim, so...
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you for reminding me that.
You're always good at that, Carol.
Thank you. I will say this, though, if I may. It's been rumored that the results, perhaps favorable to whatever the powers that be determine necessary to promote an agenda, may even be delayed to January 2016. That's like going to the doctor and waiting all those months for diagnosis and treatment. Follow the money up the river, right up to Pearson Education. And I have many more thoughts about that written. In addition to that, I want us to consider once again that the 40% of our student population requiring remedial education post-high school may not want to go to college. And their home life, their addictions, their socioeconomic status are primary factors to address before subjecting all this one-size-fits-less. I go on to my family and why we feel we are against Common Core and PARCC. My own career, I was a business director for a major international corporation, managing a staff of 60 in a billion-dollar marketplace. I know what corporations want. And I always encouraged my staff, as Krista McCall was, to reach for the stars. Doubtful is any adult claiming their success a result of federally driven nationalized standards and tests like Common Core and PARCC. Trenton, we have a problem. And it's about truth, terminological inexactitudes, and hearings, the latter of which are too few, too inconvenient, may have a predetermined outcome and are limited to assessments when we must address all of Common Core and PARCC, and that all must include all of the things I've mentioned, not the least of which are additional hearings. And we do have an escape route, and that's to do away with the centralized control of education by the United States Department of Education. I close with this quote by Dr. Sandra Stotsky, a member of the Validation Committee, who refused to sign off on Common Core. If we looked at what has worked in American education in the past 50 years, it would be clear the federal government has been ineffective increasing students' academic achievement, and they have also been unaccountable. Accountability should be in the hands of those who pay most of the bills for education, and the educators whose salaries they pay should be accountable only to them, not the federal government. Just a reminder, teachers and principals are the ones interacting with students in the schools. Thank you very much.